Hey everyone, Double Dot Music here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to produce like Daft Punk again, since my last tutorial was from like 10 months ago. It's kind of trash, so let's just get started here. I'm going to go through 3 things in this video that make a good Daft Punk song. The first thing is going to be some funky stuff, so that's like a bass and maybe a like percussion and stuff. Number 2 is going to be finding a good disco sample, because I'm trying to go for like a discovery type thing for this song, maybe a little bit of homework, and they sampled basically in almost every song of that album, and it really, you have to focus on the processing of the sample and all of the different quirks they use to get that iconic sound. And the third part is the drums. Basically, the drums are the same in every song, 4 on the floor, but depending on what perks you add and different drum machines you use, it could be completely different feel. But we're just gonna get straight into this tutorial. So for the funk, I got these two. I got a bass and I got a guitar, and this is the bass right here. Just a basic chord progression for this one. It just follows the root notes of the chords. And you could add ghost notes to fill in parts where there isn't drums, and those really help out with the funk. Maybe add a little bit of swing and do some slides in there too, and that'll really get you going, because that's what I did over here. It also depends on what bass preset you're using. Right here I'm using a synth preset for this specific one. It's the Fat Mono bass, and I changed the cutoff and the resonance. Right now it kind of sounds like an analog synth bass, but when it's buried in the mix, it really sounds like a live bass. And this is kind of what they used for their older stuff, like Around the World and Voyager. That's one of my favorite songs off Discovery. They used a synth bass and not a live one, but that's what gives it an iconic, like, electronic future funk house type thing. And then over here I added some funky disco guitar from the loops library, and I chopped it up so I could mess with the semitones and stuff. But this is what it sounds like, just a pretty basic thing. It's just some like Chucky, not Rogers guitar like they have on Random Access Memories and stuff. And that's heavily inspired by Voyager, their song Voyager, which just has on the left and right channels has 2 different guitar parts going on. Right now I only have one, but it just adds a nice layer of sound that complements the mix. And like I told you, I just messed around with the semitones on this one. The actual loop sounds like this. Just a little bit different, but I just chopped up those 2 notes and messed around with the semitones just so I could get the sound I wanted from it. So right here, my sample I'm using is Yasuha Fly Die Chinatown. It's like a city pop track from the 80s that I found on samplefocus.com. Some guy in the comments said the name of it, so I went to the YouTube video and I extracted the audio and I chopped it up. So that's like the verse part. Just kind of sounds like kind of was inspired by Thomas's stuff on his solo label. I think it's called like Roulette or something. I forgot how to pronounce it. It's French, but he just sampled a lot of old stuff, like old disco stuff. And then for the actual chorus part, I got this little thing here, and I think that's really good. Just has a lot of energy in that specific part of the sample. And then right here, I use this little, I think it's at the end of this sample, so just kind of like a triumphant, you're moving into the next part of the song, and I think that's a good thing. So for the bridge part there, I made it a full part of the song, and I kind of messed around with it a little bit, but we'll go over that after I figure out. I tell you about the stuff I used to process it. So without all the processing, the sample sounds flat. It just sounds like a regular song. But Daft Punk used flangers, bit crushers, chorus, EQs, and compressors to give their iconic sound to the samples they were flipping. And they also added something called sidechain. So what sidechain does is every time the kick hits, the volume goes down on the sample. So that's what I did here. I have to do it manually in GarageBand, but I think on FL Studio and like Ableton and stuff, you can get plugins that have LFOs and stuff that go down to the BPM of the song. And that's what I did here. Oh, give me a second. Anyways, so what I did for the processing was I added a flanger, add a basic mix for the flanger intensity. Don't want it to be too crazy because I don't want it to mess with the actual EQ of the samples. Sometimes flangers do that, and I want my EQ to stay the same. And I had to tweak with the volume a little bit so that I didn't get clipping in the final thing, because sometimes the flangers can randomize the volume of your sample, then that can lead to clipping in the final mix, and you don't want that. So it just adds a little bit of twirling to the sample. It just gives it like a more electronic feel. Then the chorus spreads it out across the two channels on the side of your headphones, and they just makes it sound a lot more larger and stereo, and it gives it more room for the drums that I added. It also turns down the gain a little bit, but you can cover that by using a visual EQ. What I did for this was I raised the mids and the trebles, but brought down some of the bass, since I wanted to add my own bass, which I showed you in the last segment. Bit Crusher. It was a technical limitation during Daft Punk's time. Their sampler could only go up to a certain bit rate, and I think it was 12 bits with 2 times downsampling. It just gives it more of a crunchy electronic feel. Then the compression, I have heavy compression here. Threshold around negative 27 decibels. Headroom's at 11.8. You should always, for default expansion ratio, you should go around 4, and your expansion threshold, you can do whatever you want. Just when you want your sample to come out, cut out when there's a certain amount of volume. But that's basically the processing for my sample. Then for the other part of the sample that I use for the bridge, just kind of the same thing, but I took away the bit crusher and the flanger, and I added a low pass filter. Now that takes away the high frequencies and gives space for the other things I wanted to add onto that. Compressed it as well, but I put a different EQ to add more bass. This is what it sounds like. And that just kind of reminds me of like maybe an old radio you had, or I don't know, just add low pass filter. Just takes away some of the electronic parts of the sample, and I wanted this specific part of the bridge to have a more human feel. I think I have about the same compressor on this one. Then there's something else I added. It's a little reference to their song Crescendos from Discovery. It's this little synth bass thing. Just higher and higher in octave. They don't really use risers in their songs from Discovery and Homework. They usually use synths or another sample to give it more tension tension for the chorus, and that's what I did here. And then I also added a little arpeggio here, just like they do in Voyager for the uh, last verse before the last chorus. Just like that harp in Voyager. And let me show you the bridge I did for this. So I tried to do kind of like a Tyler the Creator type thing for this, but it just has some strings, piano, pizzicato, and a pad that's rising, since I just wanted it to sound better in a mix. And then I add a little glockenspiel. And there's also a synth solo I did. And I think that's just like adds a deeper part of the song, because I didn't want the song to get stale, because if it just kept on repeating a verse, or if it kept on repeating the verse and then the chorus, it'd get a little bit boring. And then I added the sample. And that added some drums and stuff. Now to get onto the perks and the drums. For the intro here, I added a Lindrum snare and a Lindrum hi-hat, and some perks that come in later. Added some reverb to that snare. But so for the drop here, I used the 909 kick, which they loved using a lot in their early stuff. But what you really want to do for your claps is don't use the bare clap. You want to use the Lindrum rim shot. And that's what really makes the Daft Punk like type clap. Because I remember earlier I tried to make stuff like Daft Punk. I used snares and I used claps. And that didn't sound like the stuff that I heard on Voyager or One More Time or like Revolution 909 or something. So pair it with that Lindrum rim shot, add a good EQ, and it really sounds a lot like their Discovery era stuff. Add some reverb to that too, just to give it more depth. And then add a 909 hi-hat, just for that little tss, tss, tss in between every kick. What I really like to do for the 909 hi-hat is bring the mid up a little bit. Just gives it more of a better feel inside of your stereo, inside of the stereo. And sometimes I like to pan it, but I did it for that song. I did it for this song. And it just comes in between every single kick beat. It just adds more energy. And then the 909, this is my EQ for the 909 usually. Just big dip in the mids and a lot of pushing to the highs and the lows. Just to add some flavor. And then right here, I have the perks. I use the 727, which is has a lot of good congas and tambourines and stuff. And then shaker and a tambourine. That just adds some polyrhythm to the song, and I think it sounds pretty good. So I think I'm going to play the full song right now. also useful for any of your future projects if you ever want to produce like early Daft Punk, because I think that's their best era in terms of like experimental EDM. They really paved the way for French house to come into the mainstream, and I think I had a lot of fun working on this song. I think I stayed up till like 12 a.m. when I first made this, but yeah, sampling. Just remember sampling, good drums and percussion, and add some stuff that will make your song funky. If you ever want to make a song like Daft Punk. Don't forget to keep up with my new uploads for my songs, and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel because we just hit 50. So see you later. Oh, and one more thing. Don't forget to check out my BANDCAMP. I just released a couple new songs on there. I'll give you the link in the description. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.